Welcome to Relentless Pursuit with Marjorie Dudley. Real conversations with entrepreneurs, business owners, and leaders who refuse to settle. This isn't about overnight success. It's about the decisions, discipline, setbacks, and standards that shape extraordinary results. If you're building something that matters, you're in the right place.
Hello, welcome to Relentless Pursuit with Marjorie Dudley. I am so excited to be here today with my guest, Shalonda Washington. She's a phenomenal, inspiring woman. She's the owner and CEO of Reliable Permitting and BSS, and she just wrapped up a really cool event that I want her to tell us a little bit about called A Day with Shalonda Washington. Welcome, Shalonda. So glad to have you. I'm doing phenomenally. Yes. Tell me about this day with Shalonda. It sounds like a dream.
Oh my goodness. It was phenomenal. It exceeded everything that I could have envisioned. Every year, or every time I'm saying every year, but every time I had the event, we try to theme it to focus into an area that I believe is important for women to conquer or to really think on purpose about. And this one was about perspective vision. So the women came in, there was an icebreaker. Everybody had a pair of shades on their dining napkin. And in this shade, in each pair of shades was a transparent label of some things that women have that we face every day. Because yes, we be doing our business, but we want to do life and not have life do us. So when these things, we're faced with these things, how do we see them? What is your perspective on the things you see? And some of them were infertility, because even though we're business owners, some of us are faced with those things. Grief. What do we do when grief hits us and we're still having to run our businesses? Rejection, infidelity. You're married and things are still going on in family.
Wow.
So we really dug in. And from that, because we run our businesses from the inside out. And if we're running our business from the inside out, there's some things going on the inside that we have to face and we have to conquer. So to be intentional about our perspective vision, how do you see it? Because life be lifing and we still got to run our business.
You still have to keep moving forward, or at least we want to learn how to keep moving forward. How did the day with Shalonda come to be? When did you start it, and what was the inspiration for such an event?
Listen, I say it all the time. We always feel like we're disqualified to help somebody else because of the things that we've been through in life. And I just have a passion and a burden for those women who may be trailblazing, never seen anybody else do it before. Or, you may be in an industry where it's not conducive for women to be there and you're having to make your way or pave the way for other women to come behind you, right? So I know that the things I've experienced in life growing up has been a huge challenge for me to overcome, to even know that I deserve to be in rooms that God has graced me to be in, and also to have, and that it was possible for me to have a thriving business and be successful, and that every area of my life can be successful and prosperous. So that's how I knew that if I was going through it, there was other women that were going through it. And how can I take what I've learned and what I'm still overcoming, right? And allow that to be something that I can be a voice that somebody needs to hear for their destiny and where they're going.
Yes. Ed Milet has this quote that I love, and he says, "You're best equipped to help the person you used to be." And I've also heard it said, your biggest test is your biggest testimony. That's a lot what I see in you, is that you've had to overcome things. You've built things that now equip you to help people coming up and wanting to do the same. Tell us a little bit about how did you get through so much? What's helped your mindset to become so strong?
Well, I mean, it's my pivot game. It was it was a part of my life. It's inside of me. It's in my DNA, because things in life don't always go the way we think they should. I mean, naturally we feel like, okay, if a mother carries a child for 9 months and births this child, right? Then she's going to want to take care of the child. She's going to do everything she can. She's going to raise the child right. She's going to always instill the things. But that wasn't my story. My mother had her own addictions. My mother couldn't even, see straight half the time. You know what I'm saying? And so with that being said, I've had to pivot and know and understand and deal with rejection and deal with, am I good enough? And why am I not lovable? Or why, wouldn't a mother's love be strong enough for you to kick a habit to take care of your child? But unfortunately in life, there are strongholds that hold people fast to things that they cannot overcome. And we sometimes as children suffer for adult decisions. So this is how I couldn't lay down and die. You're still here in this world. You're still here in this earth. So there has to be something down on the inside of you that catapults you, or even the voice that you hear or people that comes along in your life, in your journey, to push you further toward your destiny.
So you'd shared before, and you alluded to it now, that growing up, your mom, and I believe you said single mom, right? Your mom had some addictions and some challenges, and that you often you weren't with your mom a lot in those early years. So tell us about your story there, and who helped form you, who helped guide you, who was your inspiration, where did your motivation come from?
Well, my grandmother took me in at 3 months. And because my mom was being arrested and she was going to prison. And so my granny has raised me. My mom, it was a revolving door for her with prison. And so in that upbringing, in that uprearing, my granny only knew to do what she knew to do. Here she is, she's raised her children. Now how many generations down to even know what I'm dealing with or know where I am in life. And some things that helped shape me into the woman I am today is there was a JTPA summer youth program that's now called JA Junior Achievement, and they're out of Fort Myers, and they came through Naples in River Park, where I grew up, which was the projects. Yes, Naples, Florida had one.
Yeah.
And back then it was drug infested. There was a lot of things going on. But in that time they came through, and they were looking for low income families and allowing the young children who could not normally be at work age, right? But they was setting up these programs where they can place them in places where they could get that experience. And so they asked me what I wanted to do or what I wanted to be. And I always knew something clerical, right? I love to type. And so I just thought I'd be in an office so I could dress up, carry a briefcase, because I love
I love
clothing.
that.
That was something that I didn't have growing up, was nice clothing. So, and so they placed me in Votech, which is now called James Lorenzo Walker here in Naples. And in that, I think was where it all began for me, where they surrounded me with all these women that were in the front office. They were all secretaries, and they had me at the front desk. And these women began to plant some major seeds in my life. I mean, major. I came in, gold teeth, I'm very, ready to like whatever. I didn't have any tact. I didn't know how to speak.
Did you feel different, or did they, like, what was it like? Because I'm assuming that they didn't have a similar upbringing.
No, it was very different. There was not one African American woman in the facility. And so that was my first time ever being surrounded by, Caucasian women at that level, besides going to school and getting back home. But, but the difference was the fact that they took time. They never tried to change me. They never tried to make me sound like them or look like them. They just would tell me things like, okay, now. And they never embarrassed me. And I could have been loud, rude, the whole nine. They never embarrassed me. They would pull me to the side. They would say, okay, this is how you should respond to this. And they still let me voice how I felt. They still allowed me to be. And I think that's because they saw the Shalonda Washington you all see today. They did not look at the girl and what she was spitting out, but they looked past the girl to see her worth, see who she would be one day. And that was huge. So I am very much, and that's why I do what I do. That's why I do what I
Right.
do. With young women, with girls, anybody's life that I can impact. And I think that I've developed a unique king gift to recognize gifts in other people and to even pull them out, because you got to look past the person and see who's in the inside of that.
Right. We have a one of our values for Southwestern Consulting is seeing people not for who they are, but for who they can become. And it really
Yeah.
sounds like these women saw not the Shalonda that was right before them, who'd maybe had some challenges up to that point in life, but really the potential and who she could become. And now you get to do that for other people, for other women. What happened after that JA? What happened? What was your growth path after that point? After that
Well,
role?
JTPA never had to come back through the projects and look for me no more, because the ladies were requesting me every year. I did it for
Love
4
it.
summers in a row. And I tell you,
Wow.
those were the toughest part of my life. Even one of those summers, I ended up becoming a pregnant teenager at age 14.
Mm,
I started with them at 11. And
wow.
and at 14, I found myself pregnant, and about to give birth to a child. And the first thing I said wasn't what I was going to tell my grandmother. It was, what am I going to tell these ladies who believe in me? Who believe in
Mm,
me. That's how, they even took me to their homes. They found out what I liked. They would cook chicken wings every weekend if they had to, buffalo wings, and call me over or pick me up and bring me.
oh my gosh.
And so it was more
They
than,
led with love. I
yeah.
love that they led with love and compassion and belief and not pity or
Mm.
like it was that is so cool. How did they react when you told them? Do you remember?
Oh my gosh. What I expected, I did not get. Their love turned up for me. Those ladies
Mm,
came to my apartment. Me and my granny's apartment. They taught me how to cook. They showed me how to make the baby's bottles. They, showed me how to change they rotated. And
mm,
I just was like, wow. And so I know that's why when I lead or when I'm mentoring or I'm doing something, I know how to get in the trenches with a person, with a young girl.
mhm,
I know how to get in the trenches with them. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't scare me. Why? Because that's what they did for me. And I know by the grace of God, Him placing me in that arena, and to know that even today, the people in even in my business and who I have to deal with, it's always it's not a racial thing, but it unfortunately always, not unfortunately, but it is Caucasian, right? And it is, so
mm,
I'm not afraid of that. I'm not afraid,
mhm,
or come in with these things like, oh, they're prejudiced or they're this, or no, I see everybody the same. It has shaped me. It has shaped the way I see, others in the field that God sent me in
mhm,
to do what I do. And so I just know it's pivotal. And that's why, I'm on the Pace Center for Girls board. Why? Because I've been there. I was that girl. I was that
mhm.
girl. And it just so happened that a lot of things that we do are in Immokalee. And so
Yeah,
me and my husband, so it's like I want them to know that you may see all of this, but that's not your life.
yeah. Well, and you're pouring back hope and belief to
Mhm.
young women who need to see it like you did. So you became a young mother yourself. What was that like, particularly in the beginning?
Oh, it was tough. The whole 9 months that I was pregnant, my granny didn't even speak to me.
Oh no.
And she didn't speak to me. And that was so hard and it was tough. And I didn't understand. But then one day I overheard her having a conversation with a friend that came over. And the first thing came out of her mouth is, I don't know why she wants to ruin her life like this. I worked hard. I
Mm.
worked 3 jobs. She don't have to do this. I don't know, why would she
She took it
do.
personally almost.
She took it
Wow.
personally. And I think as parents, we can do that. We think it reflects on us. when really your child is dealing with their own issues. Your child is
Mm-hmm.
trying to sort out some things within them. This is why when I meet a woman or I meet anyone anywhere, and if they're rude, they're nasty, or they seem standoffish, I don't ever take it personal. I always say, what happened to her?
Right. What's she
Why?
going through? What
Because people
happened?
don't wake up and just be mean. They don't wake up and just be nasty. It take a lot of energy to do that.
Right.
So it
I
has
love
to.
that perspective. Could you imagine if we all, there's a really great book called The Four Agreements, and one of them is
Mm,
don't take anything personally, but it's so much easier said than done. I mean, I coach people on that principle, and yet I have a hard time living it myself sometimes. It is so easy to take something personally, but it sounds to me like that experience with your grandma actually shaped that for you to really learn that lesson at a really deep level.
mhm. Yes, I am just um in being a young mom, a young teen mom, even in that, from the school, the high school,
Mhm.
Roy Terry's wife, Miss Terry, was the secretary at that time at the high school. And when I was pregnant and I was walking around, the counselor back then, and you got to realize I was in Naples High. So you got Port Royal, Royal Harbor. I'm seeing this, but then I go home to
Mhm.
that. It was very discouraging
Big
and
disparity, big yeah.
yeah, and I just didn't understand. I just felt like, well, you just don't fit. This is not. So when the counselor called me in and said, well, listen, why don't you go ahead and get your GED? It's a lot of liability to walk around pregnant. No one was walking around pregnant. There was no TAP program back then,
Right,
where
right.
they made this thing where it's like, okay, well, you have a baby, so you bring your baby to school, we're gonna do in
Mhm.
programs. There was none of that back then for me. And so they were, and I said, well, okay, well, if you feel like that's the best thing. I mean, I didn't have anybody giving me guidance in that.
Right.
And so much I faced by myself at a young age.
Mhm.
Um, and so I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll take my GED. I need to work anyways. I got to take care of my baby, so I don't need to be messing around with school, right? But thank God that Miss Terry, she overheard the conversation and she said, come see me after school. You don't have to do that. I'm like,
Okay.
okay. And I come after school and I meet her and she had already had it laid out. She said, I have this guy who will tutor you. His name was Mr. Gasparino, and he will come to your house. He will tutor you so you can get through your exams through this whole school year while you're pregnant. And I did that with him. He came to my house. He tutored me. He had all my homework, my schoolwork. Listen, this was all, oh my God. I'm just so
Incredible.
grateful. Yeah, to that and to them. And I went to school, took my final exam after school, and
Mhm.
I was able to go to the same next grade, but then go to the hospital, have this baby, and be ready, you know, get prepared.
Wow.
And even with
Did you
that,
stay in school? After
yeah,
you had your baby, did you stay in school?
I
Wow.
sure did, because then there was a neighbor. By that time, we had moved out to Golden Gate, and there was a neighbor
Okay.
next door, and never spoke to the lady before. She never spoke to me, but when I had the baby, she came, knocked on the door, and she said, "You give me this baby, you just bring me my diploma."
Oh, that gave me chills. Oh my gosh. I
And
just
this
keep
lady,
hearing
all
these
she
little
did was,
God moments,
mhm. And she
you know,
sewed. That's what she did. She did crafts. So she made my baby's clothing, sewed them. And then she
Mhm.
also would blend up the baby food fresh in a blender and send them with me in cube trays with toothpicks. So then
Oh
all I
my
had to do was pull
gosh.
them out and heat it up a little bit and feed her when she got to be that age where she was eating, table food, starting to eat table
Uh-huh.
food. And so I didn't buy baby food.
Wow. What a blessing just in these people, you've gone through a lot, but then there's all these little bright spots, these people that are giving hope and sharing their gifts and their talents and
Yes. And don't have to do it. Like, why? What is the benefit? What are you getting out of
right.
it? You know what I'm saying? And that is what truly has shaped me and molded me
Mm-hmm.
because, I needed that in my life. I needed someone to be that for me in my life. But the one thing I do love, and I like to tell women all the time, but each person had a role to play. See, because
Yes.
Marjorie, who you gonna reach? I'm not gonna reach. Who I'm gonna reach? You
Mm-hmm.
won't reach. But we need to play that number in another woman's life or another girl's life or whoever's life that we are to play in that moment, in their journey. Our paths crossed and you're a part of my
100%.
journey, Marjorie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you never know who you can be that light for and how the things you've been through will help you help that
Mm-hmm.
next person. So what was it like after high school? So you have this wonderful woman helping you with your
Mm-hmm.
child through high school. Then what did you decide to do after high school, or what did that look like for you?
Well, I knew it did force me to grow up fast. I mean, throughout high school, the remainder of
Mhm.
high school, I always worked two jobs and I still went to school. I was
Wow.
doing it was First Choice Haircutters. I don't know if you ever remember them. First Choice
I
Haircutters
don't.
was really big. It was like a chain of,
Uh-huh.
hair salons, but it was
Mhm.
quick. And so I went in at night when they were closing to close the books. Because during high
Mm.
school, when they found out I like clerical and I just didn't do well at the other, normal math, English, and all that, they put me in business English and business math. And so I got a chance to touch a little accounting and touch a little. So I was interested in that. Like, show me how to make money and
Mhm.
spend money. That's what I wanted. I didn't want to know about no algebra and all that. No, I didn't want
Make
that.
money and spend. I love it.
So I left doing clerical work
Mhm.
for them late at night when they closed. So after school, I would go to work across the street at the mall because it was across the street, and sometimes I
Mhm.
could walk. And so I've had several jobs, a lot of jobs, but I did work two jobs. I went to school, and then from that, one of the ladies, once they were closing down the First Choice Haircutters, she was saying, you should really go to a temp agency because they can help you find more
Mm.
clerical work. And I was like, temp agency? I had never heard of that.
Mhm.
And I, back then we didn't have Google. We had the yellow pages. So I had to go through the yellow pages, try to find what is this lady talking about. And I found one, and it was Manpower at that time. And so I went in, interviewed, and they kept me on, and they kept me busy. They kept me busy.
Mm.
And from that, they landed me in a law office. And so I thought, yeah, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna be a legal secretary. So then I started thinking more of that. And so what I did was I went to Votech because I knew the ladies there, right? And I was like saying, they were like, we have
Mhm.
that class. You could take it here. So I go there, I take it, and it was still taking too long. I was so impatient. I'm like, I gotta make some money. This is killing a lot of my time. So I opted for the clerical one that
Mhm.
was shorter, and at least I would have a certificate, and then I could continue to work.
Mhm.
Did that. Went back to the temp agency. Okay, listen, I've got this certificate. Can you put me at some other places? And that's when they landed me at a construction site. And I have
Okay.
been bitten by that construction bug ever since.
I was like, is that the beginning of becoming the permitting queen?
Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. Well,
Yes,
and I
ma'am.
want to just pause for a second and highlight that from a very young age, you took action and
Mhm.
multiple jobs and working to get your GED and finish high school. Actually, working to take the class, the tutoring, sorry, it's to not get
Mhm.
your GED, but to finish high
Yes.
school. And like all of there's a lot of little points that you could have taken an easier path, but you
Mhm.
chose to keep charging forward.
Mhm.
And was that just in you? Do you feel like it was those little kind of angels along the way that
Mhm.
motive, like where did that come from? What kept you doing kind of the harder of the two options?
Well, because of what I saw growing up.
Mm.
I made a covenant with myself that I would never,
Mhm.
that life would be better for me. Life would be better for, my children. I found myself saying that at 8 years old when, I had an
Yes.
opportunity to actually, be around my mom and actually see her and really try to have a relationship with her. And when she did not want that at the time, and not that she didn't want it, but because of her addiction, she just could not.
Right.
And in that moment, I said, my children will never. And I only found this out because I did my work. I've gone to my counseling, all of this. And that's the first thing
Yes.
they ask you is, where did you first feel that feeling? And it was, I got my eyes closed and I see these little feet. I was 8 years old and I was like, my kids will never. And mind you, I had never thought about having kids, dreamed about having kids or a family, but I just think it's that thing on the inside where and so that's what shaped me. Whatever it took for me to be successful or to make sure I didn't have to depend on anybody else.
Yes. You had a vision of more than your circumstances. You had a vision of that you are able to in some way control or take action and climb yourself out of this thing over here. That's just incredible. So when you get, I'm jumped back because I just wanted to hear about that, but jumping to the construction site. So now you're doing some clerical or some kind of work on construction sites.
Yes.
How does that then turn into the permitting queen?
Well, my first construction assignment through the temp agency was with Erickson Construction. And you see them now on the highways. And late at night, they're the ones redoing the 75, all of the major highways. And at that time, they were in Catch K Windstar down off of Bayshore, which is now beautiful. And it worked out so well that they ended up buying me out from the temp agency. And that again was like a whoa. Someone would pay for me to be, again, that was another level of, okay, wait a minute. And again, that was these affirming things that I can be good at something, that somebody do want me, that I am valuable, right? And so that was it for me. I was like, this is a no-brainer, right? And they were family owned. So it was the husband, the wife, the brother, and it was just that family feel, the everything. And so they started trusting me with more. They started sending me to the building department. And from that, I got someone approached me because I would always go down with like stacks of, papers. Back then, everything was in person. And they were like, I hate coming down here. How much would you charge me to do this? And I'm like, huh? People pay for that? But still, remember, I got some people that love me. I got some people that just paid for me, that bought me out. I'm not going anywhere. I'm good. Not knowing that, this is a journey. Everything leads to something. So it took me a little minute to accept the fact that there was more. And it wasn't personal. It was just more for me. And so then this one man, he was the owner of Creative Homes back then. They were building everything out in the estates, everything. They bought up all the lots. And I don't know how he heard about me. I have no idea. But this man was calling me and calling me and calling me. He said, I'm not going to stop until you just go to lunch with me. And finally, I said, let me go lunch with this man so he can leave me alone. I'm not leaving my job. I'm not leaving my job. And he made me an offer I couldn't refuse because every holiday I was working multiple jobs as well when the holidays came, right? So, of course, my pay is a little different from where it was right out of high school. But my biggest thing was this. They did a story on me in the Gulf Shore Life magazine. It was called From the Struggling Teen to the Permit Queen. And one of the things that I shared even with them was that, okay, yeah, I still was working a lot, but then I was getting assistance, right? From, the government and helping me with, stuff for my baby and different things like that. And then this one day I had to go in, and this was after I met with Larry, who was offering me, another position to work for him. And I had to go in and report to the assistants. And in that reporting, they said, wait a minute, you can't have a car. I said, what? Then they said, you're making a little bit too much. I'm making too much money. I could barely, to them, it was like, so there was this cap. And so I said, well, when do I increase? When do I go above where I'm at now? And she said, well, let me just tell you, you would make more money with us paying your rent, giving you food stamps, and giving you a check every month than you trying to work all these jobs and do all of that. And in that moment, I said, I can't, I'm sorry, but this is not for me.
You
And so
knew from 8 years old that you wanted more.
that part. And I did not
You
want to,
knew.
I wanted to be successful at whatever I did, you
Mhm.
know? And I told them right then, I gave it all up. And she was like, you're crazy. You know what? I don't know. But I limitations. You know,
Right.
one of the things of me visiting my mom in prison was, and I share this a lot because I think it's huge, is when I used to visit her and I walked down those cold hallways. Back then, it was not the TV, the Zoom thing. We went in the prison, we went in the jails, you know,
Mhm.
and you can hear these doors slamming, and you can hear. I mean, it used to scare me to death.
Mhm.
So finally, when I got to be a certain age, I told my granddad, I said, I don't want to go back no more. Because she didn't ever, you know, keep me from my mom, but I had to go see her in
Right.
places like that. And for me, that was limitation. That was like, and those
Mm.
are the things, you know, that my brain cells became, you know, prison cells, literally, because I kept seeing all these different things that was holding me back or limiting
Mhm.
me.
Yeah. Well, I find your decision just so fascinating because, obviously helping young mothers with young children is something many people care about. And
Mhm.
yet it came with the strings of
Wow.
putting essentially permanent limits on yourself if you stayed accepting that support.
Mhm.
And so to make the difficult decision to cut those ties, and sometimes people have to cut those ties with family or in a way you did with your mom, but you have to, it's a difficult decision that you made to cut ties from the things that were going to keep you stuck back in, the old way of thinking, so to
Mhm.
speak. So that's a really brave, courageous decision of you betting on you and you saying no
Mhm.
matter what, I'm going to find a way. So
Mhm.
you decline all that, you decide to move forward. Now you're becoming known. Are you becoming known for doing permits for these big builders at this point, or what's kind of the intermediary step?
Well, when that happened, then I went back to Larry and said, "I'm ready."
Okay.
So I forgot all about, not that I forgot about Erickson Construction, 'cause I love them. I mean, I did. But when I saw and what he was offering me, and
Yeah.
it, you know, seemed like there was no strings attached, because that was my thing. Like, why are you offering me this? Again, not knowing my value, not knowing this man pursued me. Didn't know who I was.
Mhm.
Let me just say this. Everybody knew I was Shalonda Washington before I knew I was Shalonda Washington. Drop the mic. You know, we underestimate, for real, we underestimate ourselves and our
Mm.
power as women, as the things we've gone through. That's what makes you relentless.
Mhm.
Come on, I relentlessly pursued something that was on the inside of me, not knowing that it was gonna land me here.
Mhm.
You
It
know,
takes a lot of courage. It's
mhm,
it's because it's the uncertain unknown of going after something bigger than maybe you can picture, bigger than you can feel or sometimes see right now, and trusting the process, letting go of the safety net, letting go of the comfort zone
that's it.
to go for more, to
That's
believe
it.
more, to be more.
That's it. You have limits. You got to take the limits off. And if I could encourage anybody, if people are telling you the same thing and you're hearing it, just believe
Mm.
it.
Mhm.
Believe it. You don't believe the negativity, but I'm saying if you're hearing something that, like, I just kept saying, why is this man? He must be out to do something. Or he must, I mean, it was just crazy the way I was thinking now that I go back. I mean, you may say, well, I understand why, but this is why you got to work with your children and other people that you're coaching, right? And you've got to be able to help them to see. That's why if you can see her, you can be her. Okay. So you have to be able, but everybody saw her but me.
Yeah.
You know,
Which that's the work, right? Getting what everybody else sees
I can tell you all
into
day,
your
but
own.
if you believe it, it don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I
How
had to.
often?
Mhm.
Oh, sorry. How often does imposter syndrome come up with the people that you're working with? How often do you see that they maybe don't feel good enough or deserving enough or experienced enough, or they don't feel ready, or they don't feel whatever?
It's a lot. It's a lot because every level, even for myself, every level that you grow to, there's going to be something else you're going to have to face.
Yes.
You understand? So for me,
Yes.
it never ends. We all have to make a decision when you rise to the next level, right? Watch this. Marjorie, I can believe all day for you. I mean, I can pour it in you. I can, push it in you. I can do all of these things, but it's so hard for me to believe for myself.
Mm.
And it's a choice. And, and a lot of it is because we don't believe that good things are supposed to happen to us.
Mm.
Like, why? Right? We don't believe that good things are supposed to happen to us.
Right.
And so
I
it
saw
is.
something.
Mm-hmm.
I saw something it was related to, if you can imagine the worst case scenario, now try imagining the best case scenario. And it is, there's a bias that I think humans have, not all, but certainly a lot of us, that we can easily imagine everything that could go wrong. We can easily imagine the pitfalls and potholes and speed bumps. But what if everything went right? Or what if we were strong enough, resilient enough to get through all those things and make it out bigger, better, happier on the other side?
And see,
So it's
for me,
playing the what if scenario. Yeah.
for me, it was like, how could it get any worse? Like there's got to be better.
Right.
And that's why I
Right.
love this podcast. It goes in line with my life, relentless pursuit. You got to relentlessly go after the things that you know could be better or get out of. Don't even think about what you're going toward. Let's just
Right.
switch our mindset to think about, I'm just coming out of that. I don't know what's on this, but I make up my mind to come out of that. Right? And then it'll unfold what you're going to land into. Listen, everything I have, I've received and have today by way of adversity.
Mm-hmm.
Adversity is your best
100%.
friend.
We have to see it that way, because it's really easy. Maybe I'm just speaking for myself, but it's really easy for that adversity to, oh, that's just uncomfortable. And you're totally right. It is fun to see how people flourish when they face adversity head on. It's inspiring. Maybe fun's not the right. It's inspiring because honestly, and that was really the reason I started this, is the people that I respect the most, the people that I admire the most, the people that I want to emulate, the people that I want to learn from, that none of them had it easy. None of them, had just everything land perfectly in their lap. They all have gone through different challenges in one way or the other. And it is in that adversity that we become greater, stronger.
Mm-hmm.
We learn the lessons that'll help us get to the next milepost.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And
I
you
so
said
appreciate.
something so key when we spoke before about the adversity, right? And being resilient. Like if you're not put in those positions to work those things, right?
Yes.
How do you get that? That was so good. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
And we always
Yeah,
want to
it's the
avoid it.
mid. We do. I know I do. And I'm working on that. There's the mid cingulate cortex. I believe I'm saying that correctly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the part of your brain that is responsible for resilience and persistence and essentially grit, right? So Angela Duckworth in her book Grit has a lot of research on this, but it really is a use or lose. So
Wow.
if you don't if you don't lean into adversity, you don't become more resilient the next time. Your bar for what's
Wow.
acceptable actually lowers. And I was in a season, it was a couple years ago now. It was like right after we first moved to Florida. And I just
Mm.
remember like praying and hope, when is it going to get easy? And then all of a sudden, it kind of like a 2x4 over the head. I'm like, it's not supposed to get easy. I'm supposed to get stronger. I'm supposed to
Wow.
get better. So again, all
Woo.
these things were kind of born from that aha of we're not supposed to pray for it to be easier. We're not supposed to have just this easy comfort in life. We're supposed to be testing and building that muscle so that we can now accomplish bigger hurdles with less stress, right? With less
Yes.
pain.
Yes. So now it doesn't shake me to the core when something
Right.
happens. You understand? I
Right.
get excited and I'm doing something and I'm like,
Yes.
okay, I expect the resistance because now you're going upstream. When you're going upstream,
Right.
where you're supposed to be going, then down the streams are coming down this way. If you're flowing with the stream, what in the world is you going to build with that? So
Right.
when you're going upstream, there's things that's going to come against you. It's going to come against what you're trying to do. And now the way I look at it now is I get excited. No, it's not easy and it's not comfortable, right? But what grows in comfortability? You're going to have to get out your comfort zone.
Totally.
And people only going to grow as they go. So if you want to stay stuck because you don't want to go nowhere, you want to keep the same. I don't like change.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody likes change, right?
100%.
But that's the thing. Life brings us stuff that we cannot predict. The goal is to live out your full purpose and potential for the time span you're here. And when I think about life is about when you're born, when you die, and it's that dash, what are people going to say about me and my dash?
Yes. What are you going to be known and remembered for? What is
And
the
what
impact that
and what
you
legacy?
created? Yes. I
And
love
that means
that.
you have to make some ripples in the water.
So good. Our time always flies, Shalonda. What has you hopeful and excited about the future?
Oh my goodness. The fact that I have resolved in my heart and my mind that I'll never arrive. I'll never
That's good.
arrive. There's always more. And one of the other things that I want to deal with women, and it might be my next one, might be a little sneak peek, is what's next.
Yes.
The power of next. Come on, like I got
Mm-hmm.
next, right? And you may be the first to do it or the only one to do it, but there is something next. And that's what keeps me going. I'm super excited. I am in a time and territory where I didn't see the value in it, but now I do. And now I'm going to push through everything that I have to push through at this level where I'm at, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to watch. Tell us, where can people find you, Shalonda?
Listen, you can find me as Reliable Permitting at www.reliablepermittingbss, that's boy Sam.com. And that is our business for permitting. I've been doing this thing for 30 something years. I am the permit queen. So if you have any permitting issues, open permitting issues, or just catch me at some of the speaking events as a subject matter expert to help you to know how to navigate through hidden permit issues. If you're a realtor, an investor, or a contractor or homeowner wanting to do their own work. So that's one. And then you can also find me at If You Can See Her, You Can Be Her. That is on Instagram and Facebook to keep
Okay.
up to date with the day with Shalonda Washington. And then, of course, Shalonda Washington on either one of those platforms.
And when will roughly the next day with Shalonda Washington be?
Well,
Or how often are they?
It's going to be August the 28th. And we're running, if you go to Eventbrite, A Day with Shalonda Washington, we're running a Galentine's 35% off. Get your ticket. We're already selling fast.
That's awesome. So last words on being relentless. What if someone said, maybe I'm in this position where I am feeling that I'm not as relentless as I'd like to be, I'm not as resilient as I'd like to be. Give one tip, tool, resource, idea that can help someone start to embody that a little bit more.
I want you to think about what happens if you don't be relentless. What will happen if you don't be relentless? Who's attached to you? Who's tied to you? Because somebody needs you to do it so that they know that they can do it.
Oh,
And if
yep.
you can see her overcoming, if you can see her being that, you can definitely be that. So see her doing it.
I love that. Shalonda Washington, the permitting queen. Thank you so much for sharing just a little bit, just a fraction of all the wisdom that you have. It's so great to be with you, and find Shalonda on her socials. Thanks again.